Hi, everybody. Um, so I hope you enjoyed your AP break. I know that not everybody had AP classes, and most of you probably only had one class, but I followed directions. We were supposed to be easy on you because of the AP uh, exam demands, and so there was a little break. You did have your hero assignment to work on, though, so you could have been working on that anyway. That's your one big assignment for this quarter. Um, I'm so today is your lesson in humility. You cannot rely on your memory. I've done lots of scientific studies on this. I read the Odyssey when I was in high school and I loved it, and it's great. And I don't know if it's my fault because I remembered it wrong. It could have been my teacher's fault for the way that he taught it. Um, when I look at the book, we were going to read it out of the big purple book I had in our room. Uh, the the text doesn't teach you this in the text. The teacher would have to know it by reading the whole Odyssey. So I thought that, I had remembered that he was shipwrecked and he uh, was with Calypso, and then she let him go and he was shipwrecked. I remember clearly it was Phoenicia, but it's not. I double checked it. It's Phaecia, which is just north of, on the same Greek. It's on the thing covered by three. Anyway, it's on the same Greek shore, just north of where Odysseus is from. It's Phaecia, not Phoenicia. He doesn't. I remember him going anyway, and so that's not how the story goes. It was not. I could not. I had to completely reread it. My memory was completely wrong. I apologize if I said anything in the other videos that got you off track. The timeline, I deleted it because if we were all together and writing it down like I had planned, it would work beautifully. I'll put up a timeline for you so that you can see in the story, in the actual Odyssey, the way it goes. We already went through book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how it goes. The Athena's saying, hey, let's forgive him. It goes through what Penelope's going through. 2 and 3, book 2 and 3 go through Telemachus going and searching for his dad, which of course he couldn't find him. And then book 5 deals with Calypso, him trapped with Calypso. So what happens next is he's on Phaeacia's shores, and we saw where Athena protected him with the trees and he slept in the leaves. He wakes up in book 6. He wakes up on the shore and a princess finds him, the princess of Phaeacia. And she comes and talks him into dressing up as a Phaeacian and coming into the city with her, and he does, and he's trying to be a good guest. You would have to know a whole bunch of Greek niceties and culture and how they uh, are never supposed to overshadow their host. So there's this big. It's a. I'm here in the text, book 6, Princess and the Stranger. The stranger is Odysseus. He dresses up as a Phaeacian. He goes and he stays with them in the palace, and it talks about the feasts and the games that they had. Um, how the princess's mom talks to Odysseus. Nobody knows it's Odysseus, but she talks to Odysseus and says it's too bad. There's no nice men here for the princess to marry. You'd be perfect. And he's like, I got other plans, and he really tries to be a respectful guest. It's really difficult for the Greeks, especially somebody like Odysseus that would be, a hero that everybody knew his name anyway. Poor guy. So it goes through all of these festivals and games and food and things that they do, and he's trying to be polite. If you read all of it, it's really long. If you read all of it, they tell some of the stories that we had talked about. The story about Aphrodite and Ares getting caught in the golden net is in here. It was told at one of the feasts. It goes on and on with, they still call him a stranger. He's not going to let them know who he is. He's trying to be polite. He's trying to not show off and not show that he's better than his host. Lots of stories, lots of the mythological stories, lots of drinking, lots of food. Odysseus hasn't had such good food in a long time. He keeps wearing the clothes of the Phaeacians. And it goes on and on and on and on into book 7. It continues. Athena is still checking on everybody. She's talking over the princess's shoulder, giving her ideas how to take care of this stranger, how, making sure that he's taken care of and is okay. They keep treating him well because in Greek culture, you were supposed to treat any guests you had very well. It goes on and on. To those of you who have read it all, my hat's off to you. That's amazing. It is long. There's a lot of mythology and a lot of culture that you have to know along with it to understand it. Finally, they get to the day of the festival and the feasts for the contests, a lot of feats of strength, accuracy, things like that. And of course, Odysseus is one of the best. Athena is his guardian. He obviously was famous from the Trojan War. He tries really hard not to compete. He does not want to show that his skill is better than that of his hosts. So whatever he does do, he tones it down a little bit. He always, if he does anything, he gets second place. He never gets first. And then at some point, I think it was in this chapter or in this book, yeah, they're really talking him in. Come on, there has to be some kind of something you can do. This goes on and on. I believe it's in this book that the story about Aphrodite and Ares is told, but again, please always double check your memory, always double check your facts, because here it is right here. So this right here, I'm on page 125. Somebody tells the story where Aphrodite and Ares are in bed together, and Hephaestus has made a golden net and traps them in their bed. So that's the story right there of that. Remember, I only have 15 minutes. I can't take too long, and I want to get to all the information that you need from this part of the story. If you want me to go through and read individual mythologies from here, just email me and let me know. I can happily do that for you. Okay. So they're dancing, they're eating, they're doing all this stuff. And finally, it gets down to Odysseus. And the gifts, and oh my gosh, so much stuff. Finally, somebody tells a story, and he starts to cry. The story is about, here it is. Odysseus starts to cry, and everybody's like, dude, stranger, what on earth is going on? You won't play in the games with us. You won't, tell us who you are. Please tell us what's going on. So finally, Odysseus reveals himself and says, I'm Odysseus. Everybody's all shocked. Oh my gosh, it's the great Odysseus. And it's at this point, so remember, he was with Calypso for 7 years. At this point, he tells his story, starting with the Trojan horse and the fall of Troy. And then he tells all of the adventures he and his men had. So to do the timeline in the story doesn't go straight across. When he tells the good parts of the story, they're flashbacks. If it was a movie, it would be in a flashback, and he flashes back to the first adventure. Now, when I looked in the book that I was going to teach you out of, it doesn't tell you this. My teacher that taught me might have skipped that part. I might have not paid attention. I might have forgotten it. That's why there's so much stuff before we get to the good stuff, before we get to the good parts of the story. So it's at the end of book 7, beginning of book 8, that the fun stories actually start to begin. And that was our problem there. And I'm so sorry. If I remembered it wrong, anyway, the purple book that we would have gotten it out of would have not given you all of the great stuff in the story anyway. It turned out okay. So, no, I didn't read anything. We're almost out of time for this video. We're going through Odysseus was helped by the princess. The Phaeacians are taking care of him. He finally reveals himself. And as we're listening to the stories, as we're reading the stories, he is telling them as a flashback. So next video I give you, we'll start doing the individual stories. I will share the picture of the timeline for you. That really will help. So I have to end our video now, and I will see you next time.